Today on Investigate TV Plus, the device debate in schools.
There's emergencies that are happening where you're going to need your phone.
Broadly speaking, cell phones are a distraction.
We explore cell phone use in classrooms as education leaders across the country consider a total ban or limited access.
Plus,
911, where's your emergency? We have a person down. We're in the bowling alley, Mason city limit.
a frantic call for help after a man collapsed and his heart stopped during a night out with friends. His life hung in the balance until a deputy equipped with a life-saving device happened to be in the right place at the right time.
All clear? Good? Clear. Shocking.
Shock delivered.
We reveal the critical seconds following his arrival and the first aid equipment experts say should be in every public place.
And sewing helped mend his heart.
She always had a plan for the pieces that she bought.
Then inspired him to honor his late wife.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
To ban or not to ban cell phones in schools? The debate isn't new, but in recent years it's ramped up amid concerns about how smartphones and social media are impacting children. I'm Tisha Pell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. If you're a parent, you probably know the struggle with screen time at home and at school. A 2023 survey of U.S. teachers found 72% of those at the high school level said students being distracted by phones is a major problem. But is the answer an outright ban?
Reporter Heather Graff shows you some of the different approaches and asks families, educators, and experts what's working.
All right, how we doing over here?
West Philadelphia High School on a Tuesday afternoon.
Anybody else want to try?
And as this 9th grade class works on algebra equations,
We're looking for alternative measures.
Principal Marla Travis is trying to solve a different kind of problem.
So the current policy here at West Philadelphia High School is that we do allow the students to bring the phones into school, but the expectation is that the phones are put away once they enter the classroom.
How do you feel that's been going?
Some classrooms, it's okay, and then some classrooms, it doesn't happen like it should. They're on the internet, Instagram, and things like that. They have nothing to do with what's going on inside the classroom.
And it's not just high schoolers.
Broadly speaking, cell phones are a distraction.
Gordon Laurie is principal of the GW Child's School, also in Philadelphia, but his students are in pre-K through 8th grades. He says kids with cell phones are getting younger and younger.
4th and 5th grade.
At this school, the current policy calls for each child to turn their phone into the teacher first thing in the morning, and they don't get it back until the end of the day.
I go in my class and my teacher says, "Nyla T, do you have your cell phone?" I said yes, and I hand it in.
Do you find that students are more engaged when they don't have their cell phone on them?
Yes. Yes. Out of sight is out of mind.
No complaints from 10-year-old Nyla.
When you don't have it, you get more work done.
But school leaders acknowledge it's not a foolproof system.
True, every day we know that students will make a decision not to turn in their phone. And so the struggle becomes really a kind of policing operation.
The nonprofit Common Sense Media highlights the struggle to enforce classroom cell phone restrictions in this 2023 study, noting that 97% of 11 to 17-year-olds still use their phone during school hours, with the highest proportion of in-school screen time spent on social media, followed by YouTube and gaming. Yet we found parents are still split on whether a complete cell phone ban is the solution at school.
So we really are pushing hard for first bell from the moment they walk into that school until last bell, that the phone cannot be on them at all, because even if it's in their book bag on the floor, they still feel that need to want to grab their phone and check on things.
I don't want my kids to be distracted when they should be learning how to read, learning how to do math. But on the other side, I also worry about, what they're going through in times where we're concerned about safety and what's happening with our kids. We want to be able to maintain that connection.
Amid the debate, some educators are turning to these lockable Yonder pouches. The idea is that kids must put their phones inside a pouch at the start of each school day, and they can only be unlocked using a special magnetic base or by school staff. The California-based company says more than 2,000 U.S. schools are now using their product, and the principal of this school in Texas touted results after just one semester.
We saw drastic changes in engagement levels.
But there's also the issue of cost. Richmond Public Schools in Virginia recently piloted the pouches at 6 schools. And with about 4,200 students at $17 per pouch, the total bill came to more than $70,000.
They spent a lot of money.
Principal Travis will tell you her school is among those that experimented with the Yonder pouches a few years ago, but says some of her students quickly outsmarted the secure pouches.
It was very easy for people to break into them.
And here too, she heard safety concerns about students being unable to access their phones in an emergency.
We have school shootings and stuff like that. So like, why are kids' phones being banned if we have school shootings? And then how are you supposed to call 911?
This is a complex topic.
Richard Collada is CEO of the International Society for Technology and Education. And perhaps his biggest advice is that families and schools must work together to teach children about healthy tech use.
It's a shared responsibility. Teachers can't do all of it. They shouldn't have to do all of it.
Should schools be banning cell phones?
It is rarely a good idea to ban technology.
Instead, he suggests educators embrace it and look for ways to incorporate cell phones into some lessons.
I'm not advocating that we have devices 24/7 in every classroom, but man, we better model how we use these devices to get information, to learn. They have a library bigger than any library on the planet in their pocket. And if we're not modeling and teaching that that is what that is, right, then we've lost a big opportunity.
Back at West Philadelphia High, the principal says she's already seen a few teachers taking that approach. For example, using the phone as a fact-checking tool during class discussion, or the phone's calculator at times during math.
Okay, try it.
But it's a work in progress, and for the 2024-2025 school year, they're planning to install these cell phone lockers in each classroom.
Basically, this is where the phone will be doing instruction all the time.
Then, during lunch and in the hallways, students will be allowed to use their phones.
That's the compromise.
And she believes compromise is worth trying.
Look at you on that phone.
Whatever it takes to keep kids dialed in to learning.
An October 2024 study by the National Education Association found that 90% of its members support a school policy that prohibits cell phone use during class time. And another 83% of NEA members support a ban on cell phone use during the entire school day. As of April 2025, nearly half of states have passed laws or enacted policies that ban or restrict a student's use of cell phones in schools statewide. The school leaders we spoke to said parents who need to speak to or get a message to their child can always call the front office, which is how most schools used to operate before cell phones became common.
Well, I think it will definitely take compromise, like the administrator mentioned, and the box that you can put the phones in, the kids can see them, so that may help.
Yeah, it's the urge. But look, we have my oldest daughter, she'll probably kill me for saying this. She texts us during the day nonstop. And my wife and I are like, we never had this when we were in school. Yeah. So, I don't know. But put the phones away.
Yeah, especially during class.
During class, 100%, yes. Up next, a heart-stopping moment.
So just kind of out of the blue, really no warning.
A night out with friends became a fight for survival. How 6 letters, 3 men, and 1 device helped spare a man's life.
Then later, an intimidating phone call from someone claiming to be a government agent can sound scary, but should you respond to the threats?
Before you answer, learn how to be your own investigator and spot an imposter. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. Every year, the American Heart Association says more than 300,000 people experience sudden cardiac arrest.
In Lansing, Michigan, a man is alive because when his heart stopped, 3 people knew what to do and took action. Reporter Ann Emmerich introduces us to his angels in the alley. And we want to warn you, this story includes video of a medical emergency.
It's good for recreation, it's good for friendships. And it doesn't hurt that I'm a pretty good bowler, too.
Dennis Kelly is among dozens who show up every week to City Limits in Mason for the Monday Night Bowling League. He averages a 195, and friends say he's a pretty good person, too.
Go out of his way to do anything for you.
Scott Shaberg works at the bowling alley, bowls with Dennis, and calls him one of his best friends.
I was on the next lane over, yep, we were bowling against each other that night.
A night, the sound of bowling balls hitting the pins stopped, and the alley stood still. Dennis was getting ready to bowl when he collapsed.
911, where's your emergency? We have a person down. We're in the bowling alley, Mason City Limits.
So just kind of out of the blue, really no warning. We were all scrambling around trying to get him some help.
Kevin Ammerman was not supposed to be there that night. He agreed to substitute on a team and was about 10 lanes down from Dennis.
Being a retired paramedic, I kind of made my way down there to see what was going on.
Dennis had suffered sudden cardiac arrest.
Is he conscious right now? Is he awake? Nope. Right now I don't have a pulse. I'm starting CPR on him.
At that point, I started CPR right away. There was an off-duty county deputy that was here having dinner, so he came out.
One of the things they asked right away when he went down, is there an AED in this facility? And everybody was looking around and they couldn't find one.
Go ahead with your plate.
At just that moment, a deputy just down the road heard the call on his radio.
He just happened to be in the right place. Deputy Bellinger was driving by and had the AED with him, and that was critical.
All right, keep going straight ahead, they'll tell you.
Yeah, I got CPR in progress.
We started CPR, brought him back, and now we have to start it again.
So we all carry AEDs on patrol with us. That way, anytime we get a call, regardless of if somewhere has an AED or not, we're able to bring ours in.
First responders say that AED, or automated electronic defibrillator, was key to saving Dennis Kelly's life.
Everyone clear? Good?
Shocking.
Shock delivered.
Okay, second shock.
I think it ended up delivering 4 shocks total, but when they loaded him in the ambulance, he actually had his heart rate back.
1, 2, 3.
By his side in the ambulance, his buddy Scott, on the phone with Dennis's wife.
Most people, your brain automatically goes to the worst case scenario. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
A wife who battled cancer for 2 years and just celebrated her final treatment. Her husband, her caretaker, in a fight for his own life. Dennis doesn't remember much other than waking up in the hospital.
My chest really hurt bad, which was obviously from all the compressions and everything, and just trying to figure out, why am I here? What happened?
That's what the first thing he said to me was, that he was sorry he was supposed to be the caregiver.
If I had been home, if I had been in the car driving, any other situation, place, or time, I doubt very seriously that the outcome would have been as positive.
3 men in the right place at the right time with the right skills. It's not lost on Dennis how close he came to death.
I think we have angels all around us on earth in the form of people who help.
Thank you's not enough. I don't know what even is enough to thank them.
You're back. I am back, sir.
This is their thanks. Dennis back at the bowling alley in his Monday Night League. All because of 3 heroes and 6 letters, CPR and AED.
Yeah, learn CPR. It's a skill I think everybody could benefit from. And have an AED.
Well, you never know when you'll be in a situation where you can potentially save a life.
God put me here for a reason, put everybody else in the positions they were there, and it all worked out in the end.
People who suffer cardiac arrest in public are more likely to survive if a bystander uses an AED before an ambulance arrives. Harold Mayfield has been a paramedic for nearly 20 years. Mayfield says you don't need training to use an AED.
You hit a button and it tells you exactly what to do. It's like Control-Alt-Delete, on your computer when nothing's working. That's what we're doing with the AED. It's Control-Alt-Delete, get it to restart, and hopefully it goes right back into its natural rhythm.
The American Heart Association says when it comes to cardiac arrest, time and use of an AED mean survival.
We know for every 1 minute that somebody does not have CPR performed or an AED used, their chances of survival go down by 10%. So that means you have this 10-minute window really to make a huge impact on whether or not somebody is going to survive their cardiac arrest outside of the hospital.
Dennis is among the 10% who the association says survive cardiac arrest outside of a hospital. As for the bowling alley, they now have their own AED. In Lansing, Michigan, I'm Ann Emmerich.
Still to come, pieces of fabric patched together to form a legacy.
She would be so thrilled to see that this is being done.
We reveal how a husband is honoring his late wife's memory, one stitch at a time.
Earlier, we asked what you would do if someone claiming to be an IRS agent called and demanded payment for overdue taxes.
Up next, how to be your own investigator and spot the scam. You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
Ever had a call claiming you have a warrant out for your arrest, or a voicemail from someone at the IRS that seemed just a little strange? There are plenty of scams out there, but those involving people pretending to be from the government can be especially scary. The threat of jail or lost money can be very real. In this Be Your Own Investigator, we look at government imposter scams and the red flags experts say you should be on the lookout for. Last year, the Federal Trade Commission got more than 200,000 reports of government imposters, and people have lost hundreds of millions of dollars. The biggest red flag is if someone says they need payment immediately. Let's be real, the government usually doesn't move that fast. Also, they never want you to pay them in gift cards or wire transfers. Now, what about the calls? Here's one terrifying problem. Scammers can actually copy a government number or name and make it show up on your caller ID. So don't immediately trust that it's the sheriff's office calling you just because your screen says so. One big thing to know, the government won't call you in almost any circumstance. So if you've had nothing to do with an agency and you just get a call out of nowhere, hang up the phone. Agencies say you should always initiate the contact, but you've also got to be careful there too. We've seen scammers pay to have listings on Google for fake numbers that'll show up on top. So try to get a number from the website you're sure is the agency's, or get it off an old bill, a paper phone book, or in many places you can call 311 to get help. A little insider info from the government, there are 5 agencies most often imitated: the Social Security Administration, Medicare and HHS, Customs and Border Protection, the Post Office, and the FTC, which is who puts out these numbers. Absolutely head-spinning. With this Be Your Own Investigator, I'm Josie Sturman.
Up next, a patchwork of memories.
Even after 25 years, things will come up, memories.
Inspired him to continue his late wife's passion. We introduce you to the Quilting Club and how it serves as a loving reminder. For Tom Estelle, memories of his late wife are like a quilt. Each section of their life together is thoughtfully sewn together, and the memories wrap him with comfort and warmth.
His wife's talent and Tom's love for the quilt she created inspired him to honor her memory. Reporter Joe Carroll introduces us to Tom's Quilting Club.
Tom Estelle finds comfort from a quilt his late wife Peggy made for him.
She was able to finish it all except for the binding.
A prolific quilter, she died of desmoplastic round cell carcinoma, an extremely rare and aggressive cancer. Peggy was just 47. She inscribed her last quilt to Tom.
From my heart for all time with my love. When she took her last breath, I immediately whispered in her ear.
A loving farewell and then a loving way to remember her.
And her quilts were always simple.
At Christ the King School in Rutland, Tom leads a most unusual club.
She did all the quilt, the whole quilt, by hand. She never used a machine.
The Quilting Club is to both honor Peggy and to make a blanket for a newborn in the area. Tom, a former science teacher, is now a longtime foster grandparent at the school.
I've carried them with me for over 25 years. And, you know, they were such a big part of Peggy's life.
Tom couldn't bear to throw out the fabric.
Oh, green? You guys want to go green?
4 8th graders, Kenny O'Rourke, Tessa McGee, Anna O'Brien, and Brooklyn Werbensky, will pick up the needle and make their own creation.
So it's going to look like this pattern?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It looks good. I like it.
They all know of Peggy's passing.
I feel like it's very nice that he gets to share this with us so that we can go on to do it.
Do you quilt?
No, I do not. But I'm learning how. I'm learning how to quilt this year.
And so we haven't really done one incorporating green yet.
So you've done one before?
We've done 2 before.
2? You're veterans.
Yes.
Peggy made hundreds of quilts in her lifetime, giving them all away. She worked at the Rutland Regional Medical Center.
She was a no-nonsense nurse, very, very, very good at what she did. Peggy was my hero, quilting to the very end, to where she just could not do it anymore.
She died on Christmas Eve, 1998.
Even after 25 years. Things will come up, memories. And I have these kids here that bring out such joy.
There's 3 boxes of material. The hope is to make use of every last piece.
Tears will be coming to my eyes on that one. Oh.
But for now, Tom carefully puts back the fabric.
She always had a plan for the pieces that she bought.
A memory that lives on.
She would be so thrilled to see that this is being done.
Here's a look at Tom Estelle, also known by his students as Mr. E, holding his club's finished quilt.
The Quilting Club honored Tom's wife's legacy by donating their quilt to the Birthing Center at the Rutland Regional Medical Center in Vermont. And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm T. Chappelle. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, a cancer-causing substance is still being used in products in the United States.
This is a result of bad policy and allowing industry to use a carcinogen for over 100 years.
We take an in-depth look at the effects of asbestos and the efforts to remove it from our everyday lives.